Hello. 4 years ago, a video game came out that I decided to make a video on, what my initial thoughts on it were. Now, 4 years later, I'm back and I'm still playing the same game. I decided I wanted to try it again on a whim a few months back, and now I'm finding myself becoming more and more like a drug addict and I just can't stop playing. I decided to look back on my thoughts about this game 4 years ago and compare them to what I currently think about it. So the game I'm talking about is Black Desert Online, developed by Pearl Abyss and also published by Pearl Abyss, unless you're an EU or NA, in which case you have Cacao Games to thank for the publishing rights. Black Desert is available on PC, PS4 and Xbox One, and there's also a mobile version that is a different game if you want to join a different kind of hell. So, the issues I originally covered and want to give my new thoughts on are the cash shop, the gearing system, the grinding, and the lack of trade. I also want to give some new opinions I've formed during my playtime currently, which are the fact that gearing is quicker from new to soft cap, the lack of explanation that the game gives a new player, the lack of decent group content, and the community. So first up, we have the cash shop. So tackling the cash shop, basically originally I had the opinion that the cash shop was fine, and that there was minimal to no pay to win aspect that the shop provided. Now that's definitely not true, and the store definitely offers things that provide clear advantages to the player if they want to spend real world money. So the initial example is things such as enhancement protection for players who buy outfits and melt them down for cronstones, which basically just means that if you were to fail a Tet to pen enhancement, your weapon wouldn't go back to try, it would stay at Tet if it didn't work. So that basically just provides a safety net for players that want to spend money and use cronstones, which I mean is fine, but it does definitely provide an advantage. And the shop also provides a lot of convenience items like inventory expansion, carry weight increases, and maids, which can store and put items on the marketplace remotely from where you are without having to go back to a city, which all of these combined allow you to grind longer without having to go back to a town. There's also a tent in the game that's a pretty prominent meme. If you're in the BDO community, you've probably seen it and heard of it about 1,000,000 times, which offers many advantages, which are repairing your armor and weapons, buying potions, and being able to buy a minor buff without ever having to go back to a town. It also has 100 storage weight on it, so you can store 100 weight of items in it, which is pretty nice. So all of this put together, like I said, just gives you like a lot of an advantage over a player that doesn't have these resources. So in most events, this will probably be like a 15 to 20 minute difference of grinding speed every hour or so, like a player that has all these versus a player that doesn't. Maybe a bit different, maybe 30 to 45 minutes depending on the major difference in it. So someone with like double the carry weight obviously won't have to go back as much, and someone with 12 maids won't have to go back nearly as much as someone with 3. So usually it's about 15 to 20, but it can be much, much more. I will say, to Pearl Abyss's credit though, they have been getting better with giving out free rewards to help mitigate these issues. They're not preventing them, obviously, because the cash shop still exists, but it's a nicety, kind of. So they've been giving out maids and inventory slots during events, which is pretty nice. It kind of allows free-to-play players to get some of the benefits that pay-to-win players get. So, you know, kind of mitigating it, but not completely removing the issue. The other pay-to-win item, which is extraordinarily big, is pets. Now, pets give a player a direct advantage because pets will auto-loot any mobs they kill. And the higher tier the pet is, the faster they loot. To get higher tier pets, you need to fuse 2 pets together, and you have a random chance to increase the tier. So tier 2 to tier 3 is pretty decent chance. Tier 4 is like 15% chance, so yeah. And there's about, I want to say, a 1.3 second difference between tier 1 and tier 4, which doesn't sound that big, but it is pretty big eventually if you actually feel it. Again though, I will say that even though pets are a large factor, Pearl Abyss has done an okay job at mitigating this factor for new players by implementing quests, finally, that give new players a few free pets, which is good. And they also give them out through in-game rewards through events and stuff, which is nice. Moving on to the second issue, I'm going to talk about the gearing system. Now, the gearing system in Black Desert Online is very heavily RNG based, and previously I was of the opinion that the gearing system wasn't too bad and that it felt rewarding to improve your gear. I still hold the opinion that gearing does feel rewarding, however the incredible amount of RNG can be extremely frustrating, especially when you start an enhancing session and finish one, and you're in the exact same place even though you lost like 500 million to 2 billion silver of resources, depending on what you enhance, sometimes more. If you're enhancing accessories to Tet, it's ridiculous. And it can definitely mentally and emotionally drain you. I do think that if you learn the game's systems, like how to fail stack, and what fail stack to use for what level of gear, and when to use cronstones, you can mitigate the RNG, right? It's not removing it, but you can learn how to put your chances up to the best of the best, to the highest that you can. This doesn't fix the system, because this is the system, but if you learn the system, it's not as bad. But the problem is that the system is really daunting and to new players, and honestly, a lot of players probably quit due to the gearing system, just because it's not really explained well, which I'll talk about later, but on top of that, it's also extremely annoying if you go to enhance a new accessory you just got and it blows up because you failed, and you didn't know that 25 fail stacks is optimal, or 40 fail stacks for a duo accessory is optimal, or 44 for a try. Things like that. So, when you play this game, you definitely experience highs and lows with the gearing system, and some days it will drain you and make you want to quit, whereas other days you'll be RNG blessed and get gear carried. I think the gearing system is not the greatest system, but I do enjoy the fact that once you get your gear, it's pretty much always relevant, in the fact that it's never going to be taken away and it's never going to be made less significant. It's just going to be maybe better gear is released, like Deboreka necklace is the current best tier necklace, but the amount of players that have it is minuscule. Or a Pen Blackstar is a really good weapon, but the amount of players that get Pen Blackstar is again minuscule. So it's definitely rewarding when you do get the gear. I generally find that the things I enjoy from the gearing system outweigh the negatives. However, I understand that the system isn't the best and there are better ways to go about this form of gearing. It's just there's not another game out there that I enjoy combat-wise and gameplay-wise. So Black Desert is about the best I have at the moment. Another quick aspect of gearing I want to mention is that the look of in-game armors without the use of costumes. So pretty much all the armors in the game, excluding one, like the Akoum, which the Tuvala gear from seasonal servers borrows the look of, look bland and disgusting and not great. Overall though, I will say that Pearl Abyss has been making steps to make the system of gearing nicer for newer players by adding in the seasonal servers, which increase success chances for enhancement and also make obtaining enhancement materials easier, allowing for a quicker progression to soft cap and later game content. I think the seasonal server, even though it's not perfect, is a good implementation of the game and a great way for new players to enjoy it, excluding the lack of information and explanation that comes with the seasonal servers, which I will go more in depth on a later point. Alright, moving on to the next topic, which is grinding. Originally, I thought the grinding was just how the game worked, and if you wanted to get into BDO, you have to just accept the grind. I find this opinion is still generally the same. BDO is a constant grind. You're grinding to enhance gear, grinding mobs for cash, grinding life skills. It's an MMO where basically no matter what you do, how much you grind is directly correlated into how good your gear is. And as an aspect of how good your RNG is as well, correlates into that, which is where the term gear carried comes from. In the original video, I talked more about grinding in the EXP sense because I, for some reason, decided that making a video about my opinion on a game when I was only level 39 and not even halfway through the leveling was a good idea. Because, you know, I'm smart like that, but hey. But nowadays, EXP-wise, it's pretty easy, to be honest. Basically, you only need to hit 3 major level points, which is 56, 61, and 62. 56 to get your awakening weapon, 61 to get a Kaposha ring, and 62 to get a Kaposha earring. The Kaposha accessories are equivalent to tri-yellow accessories, which is basically equivalent to soft cap accessories. So hitting 61 is pretty easy, because you just can quest from like 57, 58 to 61. And there's many guides on how to do that. If you go on the internet, you can look up YouTube. I think Potion Shop is the most prominent one that I've seen. But yeah, it's really easy and really efficient to hit 61. 62 will take a little bit more effort with just grinding, but you can get there still not too bad using 530 EXP scrolls and the 600% EXP scrolls from combining and just grinding. It's mindless, but it's not bad. But basically, to start with, I feel like if you're a new player, the game will feel like an EXP grind to start, but the more you play it, the more it starts to transform into like an item grind. And either way, late in the game, you'll always be grinding something. I personally like the mindlessness of it, and I get a positive feeling whenever I manage to progress my gear. However, I will admit that Black Desert Online is extraordinarily slow compared to other MMOs in regards to its grinding system and how everything kind of interacts with gearing and everything else as well. Alright, so my last point I originally talked about, and I just wanted to kind of make this a quick point, because I talked about it in my last video and I kind of went on for a bit, but in this one I want to try to just make it quick, is the lack of trading in the game. My basic thoughts are that I would like to see Pearl Abyss add some form of in-game trading that's not just I can trade you a potion. I understand kind of their theory as to why they don't want trading in the game, as it can promote gold selling and it can have a decent impact on the economy, and it can start bidding wars, and Black Desert is based on an artificial economy where Pearl Abyss sets the prices and they can't kind of inflate past a certain point. Which is good in a sense because you always know like a boss armor will cost between X and Y at max and at minimum. So you kind of get a good impression of where things are sitting. But I would still like to add the addition of some form of trading, even if it has limitations on it. Like only X number of trades per month or per year, or can only trade items that are X value and below, or can only trade items that are X enhancement level and below. This could help try to limit the marketplace impact and still allow trading in the game, so you can assist friends or you can sell lower end stuff to players and have like minor bidding wars on that, I guess. I don't know, obviously I'm not someone who's super informed, so I'm not going to make a big decision about it, which is why I kind of just want to talk about it quickly, because I don't mind how the game is now. I would just like to see some form of trading, because I feel like it would make it easier to recommend to friends if I could assist them through trading, or even if I could specifically sell items to friends, even if it still had the marketplace value. I wish I could trade some items to friends sometimes, but it is what it is. The lack of trading doesn't kill the game for me, but it does make assisting friends or hunting for specific items a bit more difficult. If you look at things like value packs on the marketplace where they're constantly sold out and pre-ordered to hell, there's more demand than supply, and you can't put yourself above anyone else through any means. It's just random whether you get selected, which is good and bad. So now that I've gone through all that, I'm going to go over my new opinions, which are as follows. The game failing to explain itself well and sometimes intentionally obfuscating information. Lack of fun, in-depth group content. And then I'm just going to have a quick talk about MMO communities in general, specifically relating to BDO, but BDO's community is pretty damn similar to every other MMO. So the first point is that the game does not explain itself well. BDO has a lot of systems that take some amount of effort to begin to understand, and the game really doesn't do a good job at explaining anything in depth. The amount of written guides and YouTube videos I've had to watch, or the amount of information I've just had to type to my friends or tell them over voice chat when they were getting into this game, is insane. Just because the game doesn't really teach you anything, and it doesn't tell you where to go for more information. Like I had to look up information about fail stacking, life skilling, grinding, the AP values for the grind zones using a specific weapon. So if you get later into the game, you know that there's Nuva and Kudum, which are two very different sub-weapons that have two very different effects. Are the APs written for Nuva in mind or Kudum in mind? And these are kind of just things that you have to either learn through testing yourself or learn by doing a lot of research online without the game explaining anything, and it gets annoying. And the game also has a problem. It's getting better at it now, but it used to obfuscate a lot of information. Like before the most recent patch, Dream Horses didn't have their enhancement success chance on them, so players data mined to find that out. So we knew what the enhancement, like what the players thought the enhancement chance per stack was correct. But Pearl Abyss just decided not to give us that information in the client for whatever reason. And also previously, long time ago, Kudum and Zarka didn't have their extra AP damage to monsters as an effect on the item. It was a hidden stat. So players had to do their own testing, and eventually Pearl Abyss did put these pieces of information on the items, but it's just annoying where players have to constantly be aware that it's possible that an item may look bad, but Pearl Abyss might be hiding some hidden stat that actually makes the item god tier. So it's just a constant struggle of, is information being obfuscated or is this item legitimately bad? And Pearl Abyss just needs to do a better job at explaining things and putting things out there in black and white. I think that they are trying to rectify these issues, as I said before. Fuga in the seasonal server does do a better job through his daily quests at trying to explain basic game information. And also the seasonal servers are a pretty safe place to learn about enhancing and fail stacking and cronstones and all that good stuff. Without much of a risk, because on normal servers you're risking 2.5 billion silver on a try ogre necklace, 3 billion silver, whatever. Whereas on seasonal servers you're risking maybe a few hours of grinding to get back to whatever the necklace you just lost was. So I think it's a good thing that the seasonal servers exist. I also appreciate that in their most recent Heidel Ball they said that they're trying to give players all the numbers that they're adjusting, be it in class patches, and they're trying to stop obfuscating information just so players can have all the necessary information they can. I hope they stick to this because it would definitely improve the game and it would stop rumors about X item is this hidden effect. Look at this data that I found by grinding at same area with no buffs 18 hours in a row doing the exact same rotation and things like that. Or that Y item effect isn't working because look at this, and then someone else comes in with an argument saying no, it is working because I have this data. It's just, there's a lot of hearsay in the Black Desert community and it's annoying trying to sift through what's factual and what's opinionated information. So my next opinion, which will kind of be my last big one, is that the game lacks a decent amount of in-depth co-op content. There are things that you can do with friends, things like summoning a guild boss scroll, which most of them are worthless excluding Khan, or node wars. You can also do things like grind spots, group grind spots like Miramok, Gif and Rasia, the newest one, which is the Dawn Ring, I can't remember what the actual spot is called. And of course, like every MMO, there's just the option of going around and making your own fun. Things like going out on a boat with friends and sailing just to find what things to do, or, you know, just making fun events in-game with your friends or your guild. It can be a good time, but you can do that in most MMOs, so it's not really a point for Black Desert specifically. I will say that their best form of group content that I think they've added PvE-wise recently was the Altar of Blood. I don't think it was the most in-depth PvE content, and I think it definitely had its issues. But I think it was fun and it was more interesting, and it's about the closest thing we've gotten to a dungeon in Black Desert, and it actually promotes group content because, you know, you can't do it alone. And it's not that the game doesn't have any group content, like all the stuff I've listed before exists, but it's just that things like Node Wars have a pretty high entry requirement, or most guilds are already established in Node Wars, and the tier 1 Node Wars, from what I understand, are pretty dead in the Black Desert scene. And co-op grind spots are a nice change of pace from solo grinding because you can just share with a friend and you both get pretty equal loot. But it's not changing the gameplay in a meaningful way, it's just group content for the sake of group content rather than meaningful group content. So the last thing I want to talk about before I go into my overall opinion is the community of Black Desert Online. Community in Black Desert Online is much like any other MMO community. You can find nice players who will talk to you, they'll be polite, they'll ask you how long you've been grinding and when you think you'll be finished, or if you would like to duel for a spot. And then you have the monkeys who just flag up and instantly attack you without saying a word. And if they kill you, they'll spam dumb shit like haha, get good, XD, or if they lose, they'll spam shit like wow, way to be gear carried, or your class is broken, or learn to play properly, or if I got this skill off, you'd have been clapped, kid, shit like this. It's just very childish shit. There's also the issue that's present in every online game that has PvP, where people will constantly complain that one class is broken and that their class needs a buff because their class is weak. The only consensus that I generally see in the Black Desert community is basically right now, nerf Guardian, nerf Sork, Sorks are idiots, fuck Sork, Musa sucks. And the last one I'm a bit biased on because I hang around Musa communities, so I see a lot of Musas complaining. I personally really like the Musa, but I don't do a lot of high-end PvP, so I can't speak on how Musa plays there. I can just speak on what I've experienced, and I've only ever played Musa at a high level. And I have fun, and I make decent amounts of money, so, you know, it is what it is. Alright, to conclude the video, I really enjoy Black Desert Online, and despite all the negative things that I will complain about when I play it, I still always look forward to logging back in the next day and thinking about what I'm going to do, what I'm going to progress with. Do I want to do life skilling today? Do I want to do grinding today? Do I want to jump on my seasonal server character and try a different character today? Do I want to just fuck around and try something completely new that I haven't attempted in the game? There's just, I don't know, I always find it enjoyable. Even though it's a meme to think, you know, thinking about playing Black Desert and playing Black Desert, and it's kind of different, but I really enjoy both aspects of thinking about what I'm going to do and then actually implementing it. I recommend that if you find something you enjoy with this game, just do it. A lot of people will tell you that you have to play the most efficient way possible, which is grind X location for Y trash for Y hours with Y gear on Y class to get maximum profit so that you can achieve your gear gains the quickest, so that you can reach endgame, so you can make the most money possible, so that then you can go back and do everything as quickly as possible. But that's extremely boring and I hate it. An example for this is that I got my Musa to about 230 AP before I started to feel a bit burnt out on just grinding mobs to get more gear to the sake of having more gear to get more money. So at about 230 AP I stopped upgrading my Musa's gear and spent all the silver I earned towards making a dream horse. At around 29 stacks on my tier 8 Corsa I finally ended up getting the dream horse. But it would have been slightly more profitable if I just bought it outright, but it was nowhere near as fun, and I actually enjoyed the journey. The heartbreak and then the enjoyment of actually getting the dream horse was just, it was really fun. And that was what I liked. That's what I like doing in Black Desert. It's finding something where it's just genuine fun, and it's not, I'm doing this because I want to be the most efficient possible. It's doing it because, why not? People will always tell you just do the most efficient thing and blah blah blah, but don't treat this game like a job. It's meant to be fun. If you want to make a dream horse, get a forest path wagon if you feel like trading, even though trading doesn't earn that much profit anymore. Work towards upgrading your boat to the highest point so you can try out bartering. Get into life skilling, cook, alchemy, whatever you want to do. There's so many things that Black Desert has to offer. It's not just limited to the combat. So even though combat is fun, look for other things in between grinding and then do those. It might not be as efficient, but it will definitely save you from burning out. Basically, my end opinion is, even though I don't think Black Desert Online is the best MMO that's ever come out, and I think it does have a lot of flaws, I have a lot of fun with it. And I think if you don't treat it like a job, it's a good game. It's solidly decent. And it can provide you hours of entertainment for a long time. And then maybe you can finally quit Black Desert Online when Crimson Desert comes out if it's any good and has PvE content, please.